14 people, including children, have been killed in an airstrike in Afghanistan in what was meant to be a military operation against the Taliban. It's not yet clear if it was carried out by Afghan or US aircraft. RT spoke to witnesses at the scene. A warning: you may find the following images distressing.
Afghanistan Most of the dead are women and children, Afghan officials say. The US said it conducted airstrikes in the area but had caused no civilian casualties. Murad Gaziev reports.
After 17 years, denial.
It's propaganda by the enemy. Foreign troops are our friends and we don't target civilians.
US forces did conduct strikes. An on-the-ground assessment of those strikes reveals no indications they caused civilian casualties.
Taliban propaganda, they claimed, with an on-the-ground assessment to prove it. Who can argue with that? Almost sounds like the results of a scientific experiment. Would have helped, of course, if they'd actually visited the place.
The Americans never visited this area, and I am witness to this. National Defense Forces visited the area to check. At first, they wouldn't let us dig out the dead and injured.
No, foreigners didn't visit this area.
They are lying. A delegation came here from the local governance and security officials.
Okay, so if you take the locals, all of them at their word, it's the Afghan army that lied to the American troops. It wasn't until the neighbors, relatives erupted in outrage that authorities admitted to potential civilian deaths. Even the UN is on the case. So what actually happened?
The Americans were standing 500 meters away. They could easily see that civilians were around. A few minutes later, they began bombing the area and killing people.
I
saw the bombardment with my own eyes. The Americans first used artillery. They bombarded my home and my aunt's home without giving us a chance to flee. Then they used a big bomb, and we felt like we were in hell. All around us was covered by gunpowder and dust. My sister and all my family members were unconscious.
First, they shelled the area with artillery, then aircraft bombarded it with 3 bombs. There are 12 dead and 1 wounded. We dug out the victims from the rubble, with 1 missing. We found a hand and shoulders and a few other parts of 1 martyr and buried him.
The victims, the house owner's wife, daughter-in-law, 3 daughters, 4 grandchildren, 2 sons, and more. Difficult to spin them as enemy fighters, even with the Pentagon's notorious guilty until proven innocent casualty counting mechanism. And locals, survivors, don't have a lot of faith in justice.
My expectations are that they will tell us it was all our fault and our sin, and they'll prove that there were Taliban fighters here. This is not the first time.
They always kill civilians and never give us a chance to speak up so that they can say that they killed the Taliban.
No, I've seen no one help the family. I've lived here for a long time, during chaotic times and now, and I've never seen anyone given aid.
Kunduz province, which is partly controlled by the Taliban, has a history of airstrikes going astray. In 2015, when the US hit the Doctors Without Borders hospital, killing 42. The Pentagon denied that at first, until eventually Barack Obama himself had to apologize. In November last year, when a UN investigation found that the US had killed 10 civilians in a different airstrike, again denied it, even offered a thorough investigation, and again eventually ended up apologizing.
In a response to a request from RT, NATO repeated its statement that no civilian casualties resulted from US airstrikes, adding that they anticipate details from an Afghan investigative team in the coming days. Anti-war activist Richard Becker says it's business as usual for the US.
Well, I think that there's been hundreds and hundreds of such incidents in Afghanistan. Every single time we hear of one of these incidents, like this latest one in Kunduz, we hear, oh, they were all terrorists at first. And then someone goes out, media go out, and they interview the villagers, and they say, no, they were just villagers. And then the military says, well, we'll conduct an investigation. And then it's off into the ether, and very little ever happens, no matter how terrible the atrocities are. But this pattern happens over and over again, and no matter what kind of apologies or excuses are given, then it's repeated, and it's repeated and repeated over and over again.